In this video, we'll learn about the volume of rectangular prisms and cubes. Before we begin, make sure you have this page either up on your computer or printed out. Before we start on our notes, let me introduce volume by introducing my parents' dog, Barney. For his birthday, I want to mail him some cheese, and I have two options. I could either fill box A or fill box B with cheese cubes. So I want to know what box can hold the most. Well, if I look at my cheese cube, it's just 1 inch by 1 inch. So I need to figure out how many would fit in box A and box B. So let's look at box A. I see that it's 2 inches wide. So I know that I could fit 2 cheese cubes along the bottom. It also says that this is 2 inches deep. So that would be 2 cheese cubes going along the back. Well, that same layer would repeat on top. So I'd have a cheese cube here, cheese cubes back there, and that top angle would look like that. So you could maybe count how many cheese cubes that would be, and that would be 8 cubes. 4 on the bottom and 4 on top. Now let's look at box B. It's 4 inches across, so I know that I could fit 1, 2, 3, 4 cheese cubes across the bottom, but it's only 1 inch deep. So that would only be a single layer of cheese cubes. So there would be 4 on the bottom. Since it's 2 inches tall, I could do 2 layers of those. So again, 4 cheese cubes on the bottom, 4 cheese cubes on the top. Those would also be 8 cubes. So this is how you normally are introduced to volume. Maybe not necessarily with cheese cubes, but with unit cubes like this. And volume is how many that could hold. Let's learn more. Volume is the amount of space an object takes up. Units for volume are cubed. Okay? So we're going to start by learning about prisms. And the formula for volume of a prism is that V equals capital B times H, where V stands for the volume, B stands for the area of the base, and H stands for height of the prism. So we're going to start by talking about rectangular prisms and cubes. For both of them, the bases are rectangles or squares. So that means that you find the area of the base the same way. For the area of a rectangle or a square, you do length times width. So let's look at this formula with our examples of unit cubes. Each layer of the cubes would stand for the area of the base. So if we looked here, each layer would come from the area of that base shape. So for this layer, it's 5 units by 4 units. So the area of that base layer would be 20. The number of layers you could fit would refer to the height of the prism. So here, our height is 3 because I had 3 layers. So that means the total volume for this particular prism would come from 1 layer of the capital B, which is 20, times the height, which would be 3. So this volume would be 60 units cubed. Now we're going to do some examples without the unit cubes. So for our examples, we're focusing on rectangular prisms and cubes, but you find the volume the same way. First, you're going to find the area of the base. For this first rectangular prism, I'm going to use the bottom rectangle as my base. So if you notice, I know it's 6 feet, and then since this is 2 feet, this would also be 2 feet. So the area of that rectangle would come from 6 times 2, the length times the width, which would mean that my capital B is 12. The height of the prism would also be 12. So that means for calculating my volume, I take the area of the base, which I got as 12, and multiply it by the height of the prism, which is 12, to get a final answer of a volume of 144 cubic feet, or feet cubed. Now let's look at the cube. You might originally think that there's not enough information because it only gives you one side. But the special part about a cube is that every side is the same. So every side on this cube would be 10 centimeters. So if I start by finding the area of the base, I'm going to use this bottom square here. And the area would come from 10 times 10, which is 100. Then the height of my cube would be the other 10 centimeters. So the volume would come from the area of my base of 100 times the height of 10, and that gets me a final volume of 1,000 cubic, that should be centimeters. Oopsies. So note for these two examples, I used the bottom as the base. That might not be the case in our future examples. Rectangular prisms and cubes are the only figures where it doesn't matter which side you use as the base. This will change, however, when we learn about triangular prisms, hexagonal prisms, and pyramids. So in summary, when you're finding the volume of a prism, you're first going to find the area of the base. Our two examples today were rectangles and squares, so the base came from length times width. The height is how tall your prism is from base to base, and then you're going to take that area of the base and multiply it by the height. Good luck!